game starts off with Batman landing on his car after getting shot by an arrow. I don't know what's going to be worse, repairing the Batmobile or explaining to his insurance how he got shot with an arrow in the year 2022. Never mind, looks like you want to worry about either. Bruce sent the Gotham Knights a video saying he was dead, because the destroyed Wayne Manor and his literal corpse didn't give that away. With the Batman dead, there is an increase in crime and even worse, eulogies that make you wish it was your funeral. Once the vocal melatonin was over, we met up at the grave. When I meet up with my friends, I choose somewhere that isn't probably haunted, but maybe I'm the idiot. It was now time to choose my character. Honestly, nerf Batgirl. Just look at all the skills she has. Nightwing went to go take a late night test, but his teacher had died. RIP and all that stuff, but I need to pass that class, else my daddy won't buy me a black Porsche 911. What a tyrant.
This is where Langstrom died.
What was your first clue? Was it the gallon of blood splattered on the wall? I couldn't change my grade, but I did leave with a hard drive which hopefully wasn't full of lolly porn. As I was leaving, I ran into some of my classmates. I remember doing similar things late nights with my friends, but instead of arsonry, we'd submit our assignments that were due at 11:59 at 11:58. Hashtag rebel life. The game then turned stealthy. Thankfully, situational awareness wasn't a required course at this school. Wonder Woman has an invisible jet, Aquaman has his invisible fans, and I have my invisible motorcycle, which is responsible for more accidents than Emily, who was just on her way to Starbucks after getting her license. I went to our non-bat cave. It also wasn't a cave. We'll work on the name. Apparently they couldn't turn the computer on without me. Do they also need me when their phones have to update? Robin opened his mouth, so I left, and broke into GCPD. It wasn't the only breaking I did. Deeper in the station, I found Talia al Ghul, which probably translates to mixed signals. One sentence she's all like, "You suck at fighting." The next, she talks about how well trained I am. Yeah, she wants me. To only have one eye. I snuck past all the guards, which meant nothing since Nightwing decided to leave in the loudest way possible. Back at the Belfry, Robin breathed the wrong way, so I went out in search of brains that needed permanent damaging. I interrogated these thugs, and their friends just waited patiently for me to finish. Just because you're not a law-abiding citizen doesn't mean you can't be a mannered one. I met up with Talia, who was playing hard to get. You know what wasn't hard to get? Into this prison. Seems like a pretty major design flaw, designing a high-security jail with an ease of access. I don't know whose kill count is higher, Thanos or that architect's. The purpose of our break-in was to see Harley Quinn, who gives me passenger princess vibes. Not to mention she's an author. Looks like Talia has some competition. This game turned from, let's save the citizens of Gotham, to let's make more real quick. We got Harley's remastered Bible, which I used to determine who we'd be visiting next. The Penguin. If you're gonna name yourself after an animal, do an intimidating one like a tarantula. The tarantula sounds like Spider-Man if he did hard drugs. A name like the Penguin makes you sound short and fat. Which he was, but still. You could use a lot of words to describe him, including useless. Not broke though. The only way someone makes this much money is through OnlyFans. I can't even blame his subs. I know I'd pay top dollar for some Cobblepot toe pics. I filled up the ER with these hooligans who were in the very legit organ trading business. Imagine you're an organ donor. You're dying, and you spend your last time on Earth daydreaming about your donated liver saving the life of a young child. Instead, it's being sold by a gangbanger who can't even spell illiterate. I met up with this detective who told me there are corrupt cops in her department. Bad cops? This game is obviously fantasy. She wanted me to protect the good ones. You know what I want? An Oreo McFlurry. That's not in any way related, but I thought I'd share. As I was on my way to get one, this sorry excuse of a human said, because apparently me going triple the speed limit in the opposite direction of them wasn't that. I revisited the Penguin, who told me someone was eavesdropping on him. Probably the IRS, considering this room is worth a small continent. We took out the wires, and for our services he gave us a nickel. I'll try not to spend it all in one place. Alfred was missing, and the team vacuumer wanted me to find him. Maybe he was at a sneaky link. Imagine you meet up with a bad bitch, she's giving you the sloppiest toppy there's ever been, and then an acrobat with daddy issues interrupts you. Turns out, Alfred was into those gilfs. I went to this haunted house and made it even more haunted. This was the secret headquarters of the Gotham City Illuminati, but all its secret mechanisms were obvious. A button under a statue head, a lamp that opens a secret staircase. What is this, a James Bond movie? Not to mention the secret puzzle. It's almost like they want people to break in. And don't even get me started on their security. Where'd they find these guys? An ad in the paper? I went into this room and got trapped. The only way that trap could have been more obvious is if they put a neon sign saying, "Caution, this circle is a trap." They could have killed me, but instead they dropped me into this Roblox obby. At the end of the obby, there wasn't those cool flying carpets, just his key. Finding it was really lucky, like finding an ominous key in a pile of bones. The key was used to open this glowing door. I guess doors leaking radiation are just a normal occurrence in Gotham City. I wonder if there's a hotline for that. The door leads us deep underground where I find this note, written by a guy being hunted. Who gets stalked by a predatory creature and thinks to themselves, let me pull up my phone and tweet about it. Someone very good at dying, apparently. The author of that sticky note was killed by this heathen. You know what? Maybe late abortions aren't such a bad thing. Further in, we discover a new element. We could have given it a cool name like Megatronium, but instead we call it Dinesium, which is probably Latin for never felt the touch of a woman, which you obviously haven't if you name an element that. Back at our clock tower lair, the ultra rich were having a party. You know those really cool parties that everyone wants to be invited to? Yeah, this wasn't one of those. It'd probably be a bunch of people with daddy's money talking about how many Chinese sweatshops they own and how great sparkling water is. I don't know, I'm not rich. We would still be going since we have nothing better to do. We don't have social lives, we're vigilantes. And not even good ones. It's okay, we tried our best. I'm sure that's really comforting to the people who won't be able to withdraw money from their bank accounts. These delinquents are trying to kill this dude for cinching on them. So we saved him just so he could do the exact same thing that almost cost him his jugular. When they try to kill him again, and succeed, they'll be doing the world a favor. At the party, we listened in on everyone's conversations. No one was of interest except this guy who looks like he eats testosterone pancakes for breakfast. IHOP should add that to their menu. It should make me the CEO. My first move after that would be changing the name to IHO. That'd bring in a lot more customers. Dudes would come in expecting to get their sausage sucked, instead they'd get them grilled with eggs and a side of pancakes. I went into this library. All this stuff is hundreds of years old, yet dust-free. I hope they pay their maid well. It turns out, the Court of Owl's leader was none other than Bruce's uncle Jacob. He runs a secret organization all while being a micro-celebrity. I thought I lived a busy life. Our meeting was cut short by a ninja attack. Not just any ninjas, firebomb shooting ones. What's next? Knights with AK-47s? It turns out, these sword-wielding maniacs weren't associated with Talia. In fact, they wanted to put her in a cardboard box and blast her into the sun. Figuratively speaking. I don't see why. How could anyone hate her? I showed these cops my eskrima sticks. Somehow, and all that concussion giving, I got the location of a hideout. I set up there on the gliding device Batman left me in his inheritance. He couldn't have given me a car, a house. I mean, I would have taken a trip to Croatia. But no, I get this hang glider. Imagine, you get attacked in an alleyway, but never fear, there's Nightwing paragliding in to save you. I don't know what's deadlier, the thugs that jumped you or Nightwing's dorkiness. Speaking of, I crafted this suit not realizing how geeky it looked. So I changed into a suit that wasn't so nerdy. Its stats were all worse, but if I'm gonna die, I can't die looking like I had no drip. If I ever went to war, I'm not wearing camouflage. I'm jumping out the plane in a three-piece suit, looking like James Bond. If I get shot and die, that's fine, as long as I was stripped up when it happened. I found Penguin, who had been penetrated more times than Riley Reid. I guess all that fat acts as body armor. Freeing him sent me to the back rooms, except without the vomit-inducing yellow coloring. The only vomit-inducing thing was this guy's fighting skills. Or lack of. In fact, he sucked so much that after defeating him, I was stunned, unable to move. Or maybe that was a glitch, who knows. We found the court's sleeping area, and I was worried they'd be upset at me for disturbing them, but they were actually cool about it. I cinematically escaped and went back to the clock tower.
Labyrinth wasn't just meant to kill us.
Us? You were back here sipping boba while I was getting cut and broiled like I was a piece of flaming young. Her audacity made me go out and beat minors. Or I'm assuming they're minors, cause who else could suck this bad at life? The other day, I saw this hippopotamus, moto looking of a guy with a petite woman. Not to sound shallow, but why be with him, I thought. He must be really good at Gotham Knights. Hashtag relatable. I went to a reported break-in, and as soon as I realized that it was at Star Labs, I left a reported break-in. The dozens of armed guys inside didn't scare me. It was the possibility of seeing any of the annoying cast members from The Flash. AKA all of them. This woman agreed with my choice. Almost made me feel bad for what I did next. I met up with this woman who was the leader of The Watch, which is a subsidiary of The Bracelet. She wanted to help on our crusade against crime, which is a nice way of saying the war against broke bitches. And the ultra-rich, we don't discriminate. There's a lot of debate as to whether money can buy happiness. All I know is it can't buy competent security.
Kinda makes you wonder how he trains them.
Not very well, obviously. I got to Kane. The entire game, the court is portrayed as an unbeatable Illuminati, who has their hands in everything corrupt: the government, police, and worst of all, the Oscars. All for their leader to be named Jacob and taken down quicker than Halloween decorations on November 1st. Twice in 5 minutes, might I add. With the court's leadership gone, they're gonna have to make some major layoffs. Those poor Talons, they have families to feed. Never mind, they probably ate them. We now had a new antagonist. This one wanted to commit mass genocide. Not very original, but I'll give them points for ambition. We'll defeat them with our sick martial arts in another barely over 10-minute video. To be continued.